Alright guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Mail. So for today, I'm going to go over a very entertaining email that was sent from a subscriber. This is from a guy, I'm guessing he's probably in his mid to late 40s, I'd say. And he's sharing the story of his friend, who's also about the same age range, about events that happened many, many years ago. About his friend got to have the last laugh when his wife, and I'm using that in air quotes there, and you'll see why, tried to take him for everything he had. You're going to see that this friend of his worked on Wall Street, did extremely well for himself, married this gal, and turned out that she was plotting the whole time to just wait until a certain amount of time and take him to the cleaners. Well, guess what? It didn't quite work out that way. And that'll be a very entertaining one to go over here, guys. And if there's any lesson in this story, because there's always lessons, good Lord, always, especially if you have money and make a lot of money, get a prenup. Okay? I know a lot of them aren't always ironclad, but if you get the right attorney and the process is done right, I've covered videos. I've done videos on this from actual attorneys writing in about this. If you do it right, it will help you. But my God, you got to get a prenup. But also, you really, if you're making a lot of money, you really, aside from that prenup, you need to get a PI and learn everything you can about the girl you get involved with, her family, everything. Because if you just follow your heart, you can get royally screwed. But in this situation, thank the Lord, things work out for this guy, and you're definitely going to love how this story turns out. He says, "Hi SSM. I've been a long-time viewer of your channel, dating back to when you only had a few hundred subscribers. I love your content and hope to keep watching your stories for years to come. Well, brother, I really appreciate you watching me, especially in the old days when I was just starting out on the couch. Appreciate all you guys, but especially the ones when I first started. That being said, I've been wanting to write in about this story to you for years, but the person involved asked me not to. I had to abide by his wishes because he's a very long-time friend who I consider family. However, a recent visit I made to meet my friend, he gave me permission to write you this story. Well, I'm glad he did. His story needs to be told. And it's an unfortunate story, but it has a great ending. Let us call my friend Jay, and his now ex will call her Lara. Names are obviously changed. I've known Jay since I was 14 years old. We went to high school together and have remained close buddies through the years. The story takes place in the late 1990s to the early 2000s. I should tell you now that Jay is a genius. I'm not just trying to say that he's smart. No, he's an actual genius. He has a high IQ. He got straight A's in school, and he went to Harvard. Jay graduated from Harvard with almost a perfect GPA, a 3.86, and went into the finance field after graduating. Well, good for Jay. That's awesome. He worked for J.P. Morgan as a trader in his early years and even had his own book. Holy crap. He's got some dough. That's awesome. Finance bros can fill you in on what having your own book means. It's a big deal in their field. Jay had very quickly become successful in finance, and within 5 to 6 years out of college was already a millionaire. This is around the time that he met Lara, who worked in the HR department of another big bank. Okay, here we go. Enter Lara. Once he's a millionaire in his 20s, and that's fantastic. Here we go. Lara and Jay fell in love very quickly. He says, I know, smack. Yeah, smack. She didn't fall in love. She found her retirement plan in Jay. I'm sorry to say that, Jay, but that's what happened. They were engaged within 3 years and married in less than 5. Smack! Huh. Well, she did her work well. Jay really fell hard for Lara, and as much as I hate to say it, he put her on a pedestal. Smack! Never do that. Lara enjoyed every bit of Jay's financial success, too. She always wore $1,500 outfits, $5,000 handbags, 3-carat engagement ring, drove an Aston Martin that he bought her. The list goes on and on. Well, there you go. And by the way, that's in, I guess, the value of things back then when it was a bigger deal. On the outside, Lara and Jay were a perfect couple and highly respected by all their social circle, including myself and my then girlfriend. I would never have suspected any infidelity in their marriage, given how successful that he was. Well, again, I've said this before, women are not stupid, and these gals are great at covering their tracks. They had a huge extravagant wedding in NYC. I attended the wedding and was part of the wedding party. It was officiated by an Italian pastor who was pretty old at the time. He says, I'm giving you these details because it will be very important later. The reception had over 500 people and took place in Gotham Hall, New York City. I remember the party like it was yesterday because of how opulent the celebration was. Well, in my opinion, it was a big, giant waste of freaking money. One, because of what happens, and two, it's a wedding. It's a big party. Let's be honest. It's just showing off and pissing away money on. It's ridiculous. I stand by that. And I know the majority of you agree with me. In fact, I'm sure 97% of you agree with me there. I still remember talking to Jay's parents at the reception to congratulate them. Lara played the part of a loving partner and wife pretty well given on how things went down. I would never have guessed she'd become an adulterer. She wasn't just a cheater, she was also a master, a gold-digger, schemer, manipulator, all those things. Fast forward 6 years, and my girlfriend was visiting NYC on a random Saturday during the summer. She was with a few friends and was walking out of a store on Fifth Avenue when she randomly caught sight of Lara in front of another store. What really caught my girlfriend's eye was Lara holding hands with someone who was not Jay. So, the timing is quite interesting, given how congested and many freaking people at any given moment could be in NYC, particularly on Fifth Avenue. But then again, I guess it's a high-end store. You're not going to have the crowds you would by the local store for whatever, grocery store. But still, what are the odds? Some people say, oh, this is bullshit, but make it happen. She kept looking at Lara, who had no idea that my girlfriend was there. Yes, they knew each other, although they weren't close friends. And then she saw Lara give the guy a passionate kiss. My girlfriend couldn't believe what she was seeing and immediately called me. I couldn't believe what I was hearing, and at first didn't believe my girlfriend, thinking she probably misidentified Lara. Nope, apparently not. Lara had a pair making out with a dude right then and there on Fifth Avenue. Well, she took several pictures so that I could see for myself. As you can imagine, the thoughts going through my head when I saw these photos in the evening. I knew I had to tell Jay, but it was excruciating to have to be the person who tells your brother, a guy you consider a brother, that his wife is stepping out on him. Yeah, that would not be fun, but a good friend would do that regardless of how he's going to react. I'll never forget the day I visited Jay in his NYC condo to break the news. As you can imagine, he didn't take it very well. He didn't believe me and then even started arguing with me until I showed him the evidence. My girlfriend also came with me, and she told him everything that she witnessed. Jay was absolutely crushed. That sucks. This poor guy, because he really thought that I had a great wife and great life and all that, and boom, just like that. And oh yeah, he's loaded, and she's going to take half his shit when he divorces her. Or she may think. Jay didn't waste any time, even though I tried like hell to convince him not to yet. I wanted him to get his finances in order and protect assets, but he was so blinded by rage and pain that nothing I said seemed to matter. He confronted Lara immediately the following day, and as you can imagine, it was an absolute shit show. Of course, it's always a shit show, and I'm sure she had an excuse for everything. Lara tried denying it nonstop, coming up with one lie after the other until he showed her the pictures. She then tried to every trick in the Hobag handbook. The begging and the pleading was pathetic. No, she denied everything until he had proof, and then the waterworks and the begging came out. Within a week of her cheating coming out, Jay and Lara's families also found out like it was a domino effect, and as you can imagine, the shit show turned into a shit fest of the highest degree. Jay's mom went crazy and with hatred and wanted Jay to divorce the bitch ASAP. His father, who now passed away, may he rest in peace, was more reserved. He supported whatever decision Jay would take, but it was very hurt over the fact that this happened to his son. If Jay decided to stay with Lara, then no way should he support that. Jay didn't realize it yet, but his father would turn out to be the unsung hero in this fiasco, as you will soon find out. Lara's family tried like hell to push for reconciliation, probably because they knew she would never find a guy as rich or as successful as he was. Of course they did. Come on here. I'd like to take a second now to inform you that at the time, years later, Jay's net worth had gone up to him at the time of finding out Lara's infidelity was somewhere in the neighborhood of $12 million. Holy shit. This is totally believable for a fucking Wall Street trader. And after years on the street, He also owned a $1.5 million condo in NYC high-rise. He did not have a prenup with Lara. Smack, 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 smack. What the hell? You crazy? He says, I know, SSM, we all were mad as hell because if Jay left her, she was going to be becoming a cheating millionaire. Just the thought of that infuriated all of us who are very close to Jay. Right. I mean, look, a guy like Jay can make it back in his line of work, but the fact that she, who screwed this whole thing up, could even get one dime, it's criminal. Jay wound up kicking Lara out of his condo, but he didn't file for divorce yet. He was in a lot of mental anguish at the time, but was definitely leaning towards divorce. Leaning? I'd be full force. Lara tried everything in her power to get his forgiveness. There was a lot of back and forth discussions that went on between the two of them, including the families, which lasted about 2 months. Lara's parents tried several times to ask Jay and his parents for forgiveness on Lara's behalf. Are you kidding me? This is when things took the most unexpected turn you could possibly imagine. Jay's mother decided to go consult with a $1,000 an hour attorney on her own. Jay had no idea about it until afterwards. $1,000 an hour attorney. NYC. Now again, this is years ago. They'd be a higher price per hour now. Well, the attorney basically told her that Jay would stand to lose half of everything he earned since getting married, which is over $9 million. With his real estate properties, including the condo, his value was closer to $15 million, and she would probably get $7.5 million of it in divorce. Everything Jay owned, he obtained after their marriage, and there was no prenup. So Jay had some money, a few $1 million, obviously, before they got married, but afterwards, that's where the big bucks came in, the vast majority of his worth. A week after his mother consulted with the attorney, she got the news that blew away everybody's minds, but in a good way. It turns out that when Jay and Lara got married, the elderly Italian pastor did not do the officiating of the marriage correctly. How interesting. The way marriage certificates are issued in New York is that the pastor who officiates the wedding is required to send the paperwork to the state signed by him, the two people getting married, and the witness. Jay had his and Lara's copy from the wedding day, but the pastor handed the copy he was supposed to send in to Jay's father. No kidding. We don't know the full story behind the mix-up or how it happened because the pastor had retired and returned to Italy in the subsequent years. We think the pastor thought the copy he handed to Jay's father was actually Jay's copy. Jay's father remembers getting the copy of the wedding certificate from the pastor, but he thought he gave it to Jay. That copy, which was supposed to go to the state, which means a marriage official, was apparently lost. So they're technically speaking, according to the state, not married because that paperwork wasn't filed with the state. Man, that is the best piece of good news of all time. And we know who's going to be having a giant temper tantrum real soon. Holy shit. Now let me explain how marriages in the state of New York work. New York does not recognize common law marriage unless the two people were already in one that was legally recognized in another state. New York does not recognize any marriage that took place in the state in which a marriage certificate was not issued. As far as the law was concerned, Jay and Lara were not married. The attorney said that even if a couple were married and living as a husband and wife, New York State would not recognize the marriage in court. From what I was told in the aftermath, is that the copy which got lost was found, or if either of the spouses the copy. They could bring it in front of a judge, and the state could then recognize the marriage. So clearly the mother, she met with her $1,000 an hour attorney at the time. He said what he had to say, and obviously she did some digging. They did some digging and all that and found this all out. Man, the power of a piece of paper. New York State does not care if the couple have been living together as husband and wife for 25 years if a marriage certificate hasn't been issued. You can bring the marriage photos and video to court and they still would not care. If that marriage certificate isn't on file, or if you can't produce the original signed certificate in court, you are not married in the eyes of the court. Damn. Okay, learned something today. Please keep in mind that Jay did in fact have their copy of the wedding certificate. He told me he kept it in the bank locker that he was renting, which he could keep his valuables in. Jay's mother was the first person to learn of her son's marriage that was never officially recognized by the state. You know, some people might think Maybe they pulled some strings, who knows, but whatever. From what Jay told me, Lara had intended to divorce Jay. She was just biding her time and was hoping to stay married to him for 10 years before filing. He told me that one of Lara's friends told him everything because she hated Lara. Say that again? One of Lara's friends told him that because she hates Lara. Is this a former friend, or is this a classic frenemy? I'm sure New York socialites could take frenemies to a whole new fucking level. Apparently, Lara had several affairs behind Jay's back in their 6-year marriage and was just waiting for Jay to earn more money so that when she divorced him, she'd be set financially. When Jay started to see Lara for who she really was, he decided to let his mother pay Lara and her family a visit. Right there, guys. This is why you never let people know what you have. And if it's obvious you got a lot of money, and you got to do your homework. It's sad, but you can never really trust anybody. Think about people that were nobodies and then became actors or actresses and then became highly successful and wealthy. You can't trust anybody else. The only people you really trust is maybe the people that were your friends prior to your success and wealth, or you made a lot of money starting a business or whatever. And even then, you got to be careful. It's sad. That visit went something like this. Jay's mother, who despises Lara, said, "My son is not divorcing you." Lara's face lit up and thinking that he was going to reconcile. She said, "No, instead of divorcing you, he's just going to break up with you." You can guess at the confusion on Lara's face at that statement. Lara then got into a verbal argument with Jay's mom that became very nasty and personal. Jay's finances were all separate from Lara's. I would love to be a fly in the wall in that room. They only had one shared bank account that was used to pay for bills, and Jay took most of that money, about $8,500 as well. He left $1,500 in the shared account and removed Lara from all insurance policies and his will. He then had his attorney draft up a letter informing Lara that Jay was notifying her that he had chosen to end their relationship. Lara started laughing at Jay's mother, thinking this was some elaborate joke. "Nope, not a joke, honey, and you ain't going to be laughing soon." Well, Jay's attorney demanded the engagement ring back, too. He paid $25,000 for it. Although the ring was just pennies to him, given how much he had dodged. Naturally, Lara became enraged and soon hired an attorney. Her attorney tried getting all legal fees paid by Jay initially, since he wiped out their joint account, and that's when they were notified about the reality of this so-called marriage. I think Lara must have had a heart attack when she learned that their marriage never actually existed in the eyes of the state. Man, it could have happened to a nicer girl. She's thinking, I wasted all those years and I can't get that money. She tried filing different cases against Jay left and right. Every case, every motion they tried petitioning was denied. Jay even hired a company to go get the Aston Martin to get it back. Imagine the look on her face when the car was physically removed from her driveway. Lara tried like hell to keep the ring too, but if she didn't, she'd be liable to pay him for the ring's value. Her last-ditch effort was to see him in person to return the ring, and even though he shouldn't have went, he agreed. In other words, her last-ditch efforts to put on all the waterworks and, That final meeting was full of more lies from Lara and her begging him to give her another chance. But SSM, it was all performative, and Jay was finally seeing her for who she was, a good gold-digging WHORE. Yeah, that's all she was. And a guy like Jay, and any guy that makes either good money or fantastic money, you can't trust anybody. How the hell did he not get a prenup, and a prenup done the right way? In the end, after all Lara's legal options were exhausted, she lost her car, she lost her ring, she lost the lifestyle Jay provided, and she even lost all the expensive clothing, handbags, etc., because everything was in Jay's condo. He cleared out all her things and gave them away to friends. Lara didn't have a single receipt or proof that she owned anything that was in his condo. Jay truly went scorched earth on her. I thought he would have at least given her the clothes and accessories he bought over the last 6 years, but nope, he took all that away too. Makes me think of that corny-ass movie from the 80s, The Three Amigos. I like the movie. And if you guys remember, when they got fired, literally they were taken, everything was taken from them, kicked out of the mansion. They even took their clothes, except they were walking around in their long underwear. I'm just picturing that. Lara was also liable to pay all her attorney fees, which Jay said was close to $50,000. So in the end, Jay ended a 6+ year marriage by breaking up with his girlfriend. I hope I wrote Jay's story in clear and concise manner. I think I got all the important info written out properly, but if you have any questions, feel free to ask me. This is not some Reddit post. This is all what really happened back in the early 2000s. I've been wanting to tell you this story for years, but Jay was afraid she might read this or see it or use it to file in court, but she can't, and the court already decided. Wow, that is crazy. I know the timing here is all kind of nuts. I guess he either met her in the early 2000s and they were married, and I don't know what. But the point is, I guess this dragged out for a very long time, or he wanted some serious time before when it ended before he tell the story. But okay, whatever. But that's freaking crazy. Again, I'm sorry it happened to Jay, but man, talk about crazy luck there. Thank God the Italian pastor was obviously, starting to lose his marbles a little bit, didn't do what he had to do. But if they were married, yeah, she would have taken half for everything. And I can't imagine the alimony he'd be paying her for years on end, But thank God that happened. But I'm sure Jay obviously carried on, and he's doing well, obviously. And that's awesome. But after that, you can't have make that kind of money, have that kind of wealth, and not get a prenup, an ironclad one, and do everything that every attorney tells you to do in terms of you both have your own lawyers and your own prenups. You can do it well in advance, and all these precautions done. I mean, I don't know how, but this guy obviously was so head over heels for her. Or maybe he was smart, obviously very intelligent and great at what he did. But when it came to the ladies, not so smart. But he got an education now, so there you go. But great story, and hell, I'm glad you shared it. All right, guys, that's it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. And guys, you got a great story to share, send it my way, strongsuccessfulmale@gmail.com. And if it's a good one, I'll definitely cover it. And be sure to like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe. I'll catch you next time.